well, we'd like to officially call the regular scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission May 25th to order, and please let it reflect that all commissioners are in attendance this week. And tonight I will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any public comments tonight, Peggy?
Yes.
Oh, I bet I know who it is. Heiko Peschel.
Good evening, one and all. Heiko Peschel, Foothill Ranch, 4 Pearl Avenue to be exact. Went to an interesting meeting over in Baker Ranch last night. The Toll Brothers did a bit of a slideshow describing what they wanted Cassi Brothers, as in buy their property and develop on it. A lot of folks had a lot of comments. Mine were more concerned is how this is going to affect traffic on Bake Parkway, for example, if you put a school and residences right in next to that. Right now, Bake is one of our major in and outs for all of Foothill Ranch and a lot of Portola, Lake Forest being the other one. Or as my friend Stevie said, Alton and El Toro are a little too far away and not nearly as handy. So if things change, and I know it's going to be a long time before this actually gets to the Planning Commission, but that's one of the things that I would look at. Another thing, several different people mentioned that the housing mix is likely to be more high rent than low rent, i.e. more expensive than less. And I think that for our part of the area, I would encourage that because that would help my side. That would benefit me personally. For the city, I'm not sure what the city thinks about that and how they want to mix that up. But the current plan is for high-density residential for the older folks like me, and then some not-so-high-density, fairly expensive housing for the rest. I think that all needs to be looked at. One thing that I noticed that they did not plan for was a road over to Lake Forest. Funny that, because that's the only road right now that Nakasi Brothers use is their way in and out to Lake Forest. If you only have one major way in and out to a main road, i.e. Bake, and a way out to Rancho Parkway, which is not so main, forcing you to go either direction, I think you're going to have a bit of problem with traffic in that neighborhood. And we'll leave it at that for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others? Okay. So we will go into our presentation items.
Our first item this evening is the Code Enforcement Activity Report for the first quarter. And Daryl Hill is here this evening with this report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here to deliver the Code Enforcement Activity Report for the first quarter 2017. You may have seen or noticed that the descriptions are a little bit different this time. I've redone them a little bit to try to make them a little bit more simple, more definitive, and precise. So the cases carried over from the fourth quarter were 31. We added 54 new cases, and we closed 155. Cases currently open now are 84. And I'm prepared to take any questions you may have on this report or any other code enforcement issues.
Well, I like the word precise as opposed to more simple, because we're not simpletons up here. You know that, Daryl. Does anybody have any questions for Daryl?
Just out of curiosity, these cases that are generated, are they mostly by citizens calling in and complaining? Are they observations by code enforcement people, or what's the general?
Mostly complaints. We're mostly complaint-driven, although the officers will open up cases as they drive by and notice something egregious, and they'll open up a case at that point.
Okay, thanks.
Just for the record, I just want to comment that over the last several quarters, the number of incidents or cases had increased, and now this quarter they've been reduced significantly, which is a good turn. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we have no other comments, questions. Thank you very much. And
Our next item on the presentation calendar is the Public Works quarterly project update. Unfortunately, Angel Fortes is not here this evening, but if you have any questions on the report, please let us know. We'll make sure and get you answers. Angel recently announced his retirement, his intended retirement from the City of Lake Forest, so you may not see it again. Yeah.
he'll probably come
Apparently
and
so.
sit in the audience after he retires.
Yes, we did invite him to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so that takes us then to the consent. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Let's vote. And did we need to accept the presentation items? Did you want that, Gail?
Point of order here.
If, Madam Chair, if I may interject, I don't believe that Commissioner Ludden was at the last meeting. So if he wanted to move the meeting minutes with the, or if someone else wanted to move the
I'll amend the motion with the exception of the minutes.
So we're going to start all over again.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second it again.
It's been moved, seconded, removed, reseconded. Did you know? Okay, let's vote. Thank you.
Okay, and then on the previous item under presentation, the Public Works quarterly update, if you'd like to just receive and file, that would be an appropriate action.
So we will receive and file those.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move on to our public hearing. And that would be item number
Item
Five.
number 5 on our agenda. And this is a site development permit and use permit plan sign program and late night hours for a drive-through restaurant on El Toro Road. And I believe Jennifer Mansour has the staff report on this item this evening.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. This item is a site development permit, a use permit, and a plan sign program for a new drive-through Del Taco that's going into an existing restaurant building located in the Lake Forest Marketplace Shopping Center. The project includes a complete exterior remodel of the existing drive-through restaurant building. The remodel includes the replacement of the old wood siding to stucco walls and features a new roof tower element, stacked stone columns, and decorative cornices. The proposed project incorporates design elements that are consistent with the craftsman architectural theme encouraged by the city's design guidelines, and the building facades are well articulated with different wall planes, changes in the building material, and varying roof heights. Overall, the remodel represents an aesthetic improvement over the existing design of the building and is consistent with the purpose and intent of the city's design guidelines. The project also includes a use permit for late night hours. The request is for a 24-hour use of the drive-through only. This request was reviewed by Lake Forest Police Services, who recommended approval of the request with conditions related to noise and security, which are included in the draft use permit resolution in your packet. This project also includes a planned sign program for drive-through signage and murals. The proposed drive-through signage is not excessive, and the signs are well placed to lead customers through the drive-through entrance. The signage has been placed so that it is not highly visible from the surrounding streets. In addition to the drive-through signage, the sign program also proposes 2 different types of murals, 5 metal murals and 2 painted murals. The proposed metal murals are 16 square feet each and are painted green, orange, and yellow to match the Del Taco logo colors. These signs are small in size and have been placed on 3 elevations that do not face Rockfield Boulevard. The proposed number, size, and location of the signs is not excessive, and the murals allow Del Taco to utilize their franchise colors without detracting from the overall craftsman architecture of the building. Accordingly, staff is recommending approval of these murals in the plan sign program. However, the proposed painted sunray murals are much larger at approximately 85.5 square feet each. The sunray is part of the Del Taco logo. The placement of these murals is not well incorporated into the building design and creates a cluttered look at the corner of the building. The large murals visually detract attention from the building design rather than complementing it. Accordingly, staff is not recommending approval of the 2 sunray murals on the building. The draft resolution for the approval of the plan sign program currently includes a condition that these 2 murals be removed from the plan sign program. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve 3 different resolutions for this project: the site development permit, the use permit, and the plan sign program. The applicant is in the audience tonight, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have on this project. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions of staff? Hearing none, we will look to speakers. Peggy? Jim Forgey? If you could just state your name and city of residence.
Jim Forgey with Architects Orange in the City of Orange. Good evening, Commission members and staff. Del Taco representative is here tonight, too, to answer any questions that might come up. John Druce. I first of all wanted to express our appreciation to the staff, and in particular Jennifer, for going through the project with us and helping us process. She's made it smooth and always communicating what we needed to know throughout the project, so we appreciate that very much. I did want to note a couple things. We believe that the project being presented tonight is has gone through many different versions, and we think that the final version basically satisfies all the requirements of the city, including the El Toro design guidelines. It should also be noted that we've added towers to the building in reference to trying to get away from the standard box-type building that's there right now. And that basically emphasizes the storefront and where the pickup window is for the drive-through. Del Taco is very excited about the project. They were anxious to get permitted, started, and construction going. I'm here tonight to answer any questions that might come up.
Does anybody have any questions of the architect? I'm curious what you meant by different versions.
We've had different color schemes and a little different types of materials, and gone through that with the staff.
So you came with one thing and...
Yeah, we had a little different versions of it, but in a sense, we did have the tower set up the way we wanted it, and we had little different color schemes at one time. But I think we've come across with what really needs to be done.
So you're happy with what?
Yes, we're very happy.
Presented. Okay.
And we're not really concerned about the signage that she mentioned that is being omitted.
You're not concerned it being omitted?
That's fine with us.
So you're okay to omit the...
Yes.
Flowing...
what they call a saw blade.
Okay.
It's representing the sun.
So basically, you would like us to consider the proposal without that?
That's fine.
All right. Are we good with that?
That was my question, so that it was answered.
All right. Well, that makes it easy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do we have any more speakers? Do we have any more questions?
I don't think it's a question. I was just going to comment. So I'll
okay,
it comes up here and we'll
great.
comment on it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So no more speakers. We're going to bring it back here. And I think Mr. Carter has a comment.
I love the architectural aspect of it, and I'm surprised. I actually like the starburst, and I'll give you my explanation why. It covers up the door. I mean, I liken back to what we did on El Toro Road with the back sides of the buildings that were going through El Toro Road. You don't see the front of the hill. It was all the door was back entrances you would see, and they used brick and mortar to do that. What I like about that particular thing, I don't consider it cluttery, but it sure does take your focus away from the maintenance door that it's painted over. I thought that was one aspect of it that I found intriguing, that it took a blank wall that was fairly large, but I thought it incorporated something of interest. And from the other side, I don't even notice that the door is, beneath that. And I think it did what it was supposed to do in that regard. So just my comment on that one. But I like the architectural aspect of it.
Interesting. I came prepared to oppose the 4x4 graphic signs. I just can't rationalize how they fit into it, other than meeting criteria that Del Taco would need. I like. Didn't mean to make that disclosure. I do like the painted mural, and I think it has a place. And I have a prejudice. I have a huge photographic collection of urban murals, and I think they're interesting. I'm willing to support those two.
Can I jump in again?
Of course you may jump in.
Thank you. I prefer not to jump. I can't do that anymore. I'm getting too old and brittle. I like the murals because I don't consider them murals. They're more of an artistic presentation that's being made on the side of the building. I liken it to European, where they hang the little hanging sign out in front of the entrance to the building, and it's art in a way. I did not consider it to be a mural. To me, it gave some interest to an otherwise blank wall. I know there was a comment made that they likened it to, I think it was 3 other what were considered murals, and those were under code enforcement not permitted at this point. Those were pictures and paintings. These seem to be artistic versions of something that make a statement as to who you are, but without putting words to it. So that's just my general take on it.
I basically like the design. I think it will dress the building up dramatically to add that tower to it, and I think your signage for the most part is good. I'm not real thrilled with the stencil on the east and left elevation. I do not mind the one over the maintenance door. I think it doesn't have any, I don't think it hurts anything back there. I don't like the one on the east left corner, though. That one I think just looks like a dirty spot. I don't mind the murals. I think they're okay. I think probably they help dress up a wall that otherwise wouldn't have anything on it. Although I like the design. I think it will dress up that part of the area very nicely. I like this. The Del Taco signage, that looks very nice. Thank you.
So the only thing that we were concerned with, so to speak, was the sunburst. The other murals were okay, is that, or was it all of them?
Staff recommendation was for the metal murals, but not for the sunburst, if that's what we want to call it.
So the sunburst
Sunray, sunburst, yes.
is out, so to speak, and the other ones were okay, is that?
Based on staff's recommendation.
Okay.
So there's been, I guess, a plus on the, are we calling it a sunburst or a sun?
On the plans, it said sunray, I believe.
Sunray, okay. So there's been 2 pluses on the sunray. The applicant said that he's fine without the sunray. I'm curious, maybe I don't look, but are there these sunrays on other Del Tacos, or is this a new thing that's coming? It's an up-and-coming thing, and you'd probably have to come back to the podium to answer that.
I'm John Druce.
Wait till you get there, because we record it in the city of...
My name's John Druce. I'm the Vice President of Design and Construction over at Del Taco Corporate.
And your city of residence is Huntington Beach.
City of residence is Huntington Beach. Been with Del Taco about 10 years. We have the same type of, it's a painted mural, if you want to call it. What it's option from is one of the original logos of Del Taco. And for those of you that remember, it was just like a saw blade with the words Del Taco right in the middle. And so we've taken that as kind of a history item from the brand and adapted it to more of a modern technique. It's painted on the building. The remodel that we did over in Irvine on Main Street, right near Jamboree, has this same type of mural painted on it. turned out great. And, the Irvine company is pretty sticklish on what they'll allow and what they won't, and they actually thought it looked great. And it did add it adds a little bit of organic element to the building. I don't know that it truly, fits the craftsman style or not, but I didn't think that it detracted from it, that much. When you see our building without the 4x4s and without this graphic sunburst mural, it looks pretty plain. It really does, and I think these dress it up. The icon symbols that are the 4x4s are really kind of an expression of us serving fresh food. It's not advertising any certain product at any cost or style or anything, but it's just sending, we hope, a fresh message that our food is fresh, and that's the purpose of it. So,
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah. No?
I don't have a question, I had a comment.
Okay.
Surprising, I didn't see it as a sunburst. I thought it was a mine. It just looked, I didn't see any definitive, outline to it. I wasn't looking at it as a emblem of anything. It just looked like, and I thought, well, that's sort of a unique, application. Having it being painted, though, is advantageous, because you could put it up, take it down. If it was, there's
Well, but if we approve it,
yeah,
then we can't just take it down.
well,
so.
we wouldn't, they could.
Yeah. I would agree with you that I don't think it really fits with the Craftsman style. And when I saw it originally, because I was zipping through the pictures, they're easier, I thought, whoa, what's that splash? So it was more, for me, it was a splash, and it was busy. And I don't know that it adds a dimension to the building, but that's just my opinion. I love the towers. I loved Del Taco, not Taco. And anybody else have any more comments?
One more.
One more.
If we removed the sun dial, or whatever it is, that will mean that the one element is not centered in the ideal. I don't know if that would make a difference. If you look at the rendering of it, I don't know if it would be advisable. It wouldn't make that much difference to me, but it looks as though it's off-center in that particular portion of the wall. So that would be my only recommendation. If we remove the one, to not focus on that part of the wall that doesn't have anything in it, might be an option to just relocate the green one.
So if the sunburst fine splash is not there, and they wanted to move the green tomato to the left, is that something that needs to be stipulated tonight, or can that just happen?
We can add it as a condition if we want to, if you want to require it to be done. If you want to require it to be centered.
Well, I'd like to have the architect maybe speak to it. I'm not an architect, and I don't know what's there that might prevent it from being moved to the left. So,
if we don't do that,
and I'm sorry, but you have to just say your name again.
John Drews with Del Taco.
Thanks, John.
If we don't do that saw blade there, we would want to move that piece to the center and then center the lights that are above it. That would kind of be a natural progression. Take that off, move that over, and that centers that wall out.
What type of accent lighting do you have over those 4x4s?
I'm sorry?
What type of accent lighting do you have over the 4x4s?
It's an LED light that extends over slightly, and then the head tilts so that we can get a good shine on that piece of work without, and it brightens it up and pops, and then at night especially. And the material on those two it's very interesting. It's a dye bond that is very durable, But the outlines in it, those are actually cut out. Those are laser cut out, and the finish on it is very interesting. We have them up over in Rancho Santa Margarita, and got a really great reception on those. We had a style that was similar, that was basically just a flat panel wrapped with vinyl that looked like that, but then we actually took them and cut them out and made them out of a different, more durable material, and they look really, really sharp when they're done, I have to admit.
Okay, if I could just kind of recap what we're looking at, is we're looking at the staff recommendation. We're now looking at moving the tomato to the left and moving the lighting to the left. And so the staff recommendation would be getting rid of the vine, sunburst, splash, and moving the tomato. Are we good with this? Okay, so I think we can maybe look for a motion.
Question, would that part of the motion be in the plan side program component? Or would that be in the building construction?
So yeah, it should be part of the plan
Plan
site
site.
program resolution.
Okay.
Okay, so is that your motion?
No, I'm curious, do we want to move each one of them separately? Or combine it? It's up to staff. I mean, if they understand what our intent is. It's just-
If you could clarify the intent on the sign program for us,
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Okay. I move that we move staff's recommendation that we move the tomato placard, whatever it is, centered on the building, moving it to the left, and moving the lighting, complement to it to the left also. And close the public hearing.
It would actually be moved to the right, but...
That's right, you are correct.
But
You are correct.
we understand what we're talking
Yes,
about.
we understand
Oh.
what we're talking about.
That would have been my error.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That does,
Okay.
yeah,
So we
clarification.
want to make sure
that
you
would be
put it the right...
Because it depends on where you're standing.
Yeah, where you're
Like
standing.
if you were upside...
Looking at the building, we're moving it.
We don't want to move the tomato in the wrong direction.
Yes. Okay. And I close the public hearing.
And that was a second?
Second, I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, and I'm not going to repeat it, but we all heard it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries. Congratulations and welcome yet again to Lake Forest. Okay, we are going to move on to one of our more vendors, item 6.
Item 6 is a use permit to allow beer and wine sales for off-site consumption at an existing grocery store and a determination of public convenience or necessity for the 99-cent only store. And Ron Santos has a report this evening.
Good evening, Chair Fuentes and members of the Planning Commission. This item is a use permit to establish beer and wine sales for off-site consumption and at the Lake Forest Marketplace Shopping Center, and also a request for a determination of public convenience or necessity as required by the California Business and Professions Code in census tracts with the undue concentration of alcohol licenses. The application was submitted pursuant to a recent zoning code amendment which requires a use permit for retail alcohol sales and a policy for the review of requests for alcohol sales recently adopted by the City Council, which requires Planning Commission review of requests for public convenience or necessity determinations. The code amendment and policy also established additional findings for approval of alcohol use permits, as well as guidelines for making PCN determinations, all of which are detailed in the staff report. The total proposed beer and wine display area is 72 square feet, which comprises 0.3% of the 24,400 square foot sales floor. All beer and wine would be displayed at room temperature on a rack along the easterly wall of the store, and no hard alcohol would be sold, and no alcoholic beverages would be served or consumed on site. As part of the application, the applicant identified security provisions which are either proposed or already in place, including security cameras installed throughout the premises and employee training pertaining to the sale of alcohol. Pursuant to the city's policy, the application was reviewed by the Chief of Police Services, who prepared a report for Planning Commission consideration. Among other things, the report indicates that alcohol violations of law represented 1.3% of the crimes in the corresponding census tract for the 2016 calendar year. That figure is lower than the percentage of crimes that are alcohol violations citywide, which was 2% for 2016. Additionally, the report indicates that the census tract generated just one call for service directly linked to alcohol sales at similar businesses in 2016. The report concluded that the use is not expected to result in nuisance activities, detrimental conditions, or a need to augment police services. Other pertinent factors and considerations outlined in the staff report include the specialty character of the store in terms of pricing, that the business is a full-service grocery store, which many customers use for one-stop shopping, and that as a result, the addition of beer and wine sales would provide a certain level of convenience for the 99-cent store customer. Staff is recommending approval of the use permit and the PCN determination based on the application's consistency with the city's guidelines and the findings included in the draft resolution. To date, no public comments have been received regarding this item. That concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Also, the applicant is in attendance, and Sergeant Keller is here representing police services. Thank you.
Ron, I don't know if you know the answer to this, and Sarge, maybe you know this. When they're doing the study, with alcohol-related crimes within a certain area, whatnot, like for instance, if somebody they stop somebody on El Toro right by there and they arrest them for DUI, would that go on that count? And in the same neighborhood, they got a family disturbance and the guy walks out of his house and he's drunk, staggering down the street, and they arrest him for public, would that go on that report?
I'm not sure, but I perhaps
just out of curiosity. It's not like we're having businesses where that's happening necessarily. So I was just kind of curious on that, just for my own.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Keller, Orange County Sheriff's Department. I represent Lake Forest Police Services. To speak to your question, the IRA, the Incident Area Reporting location, doesn't quite coincide with the census report area, but what it does is give us the area where the site is. It does not include the streets of El Toro or Rockville. So a DUI outside of the parking lot or outside of that IRA will not be included in this report.
Okay, so if a DUI on El Toro pulls into a parking lot and they do the FST and everything and they arrest them, still no? Or would
the actual location of the DUI was on the street. So we can have a DUI in a parking lot, we can make the arrest in the parking lot, but it's where the initial contact is.
Unless they saw him driving in the parking lot and stopped him.
Happens quite a bit, but yes.
Yeah, thanks. Just curious.
Any other questions?
I think we have another question.
I don't know if this would be to Ron or whom would be answered. I seem to recall at one point in time, we had been going through this, that there was signage that was necessary outside of the facility, that there was no consuming of alcohol outside of the building. Is that where they're severing it as part of their service, or is that part of this type of sale for that kind of signage?
I'm sorry, I think I lost you for a second.
If I recall correctly, we had at one point, and it may have changed, where it was a requirement, there was a signage posted that we're not to consume the alcohol from point of sale until you got it out of the car and all of that. That is required here in this instance, is that correct?
That sign is required by ABC.
ABC.
And Lake Forest Municipal Code parallels that.
Okay, thank you.
There's also a condition of approval that's part of the, that were sample conditions of approval in the policy that relate to alcohol. I'm trying to find that here. So it's the last condition of approval on page 174 of your agenda reports, and what it says is that the business owner shall post and maintain professional quality sign facing the premises parking lot in substantially the following form: possession of unsealed or open containers of alcoholic beverages in the parking area or on any public street or sidewalk is prohibited, subject to criminal prosecution and a fine.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to know.
Okay, any more questions? Thank you, don't go away. Oh, Robert might have a little
I have a question of the applicant.
Well, we'll bring the applicant up in just a
All
minute.
right.
Thank you. Do we have some speakers tonight? Well, maybe the applicant would like to speak tonight. Mr. Rollins?
Good evening. My name is Steve Rawlings, representing 99 Cent Only Stores. I'm from Marietta, California. And for the record, I concur with your staff report, and we do agree to all the conditions of approval, although I did want to clarify condition number 11. I think that might be a typo. Wine sold in containers not less than 2 ounces. That's an itty-bitty wine bottle, and I think it was, our proposal was we weren't going to be selling anything less than 750 milliliters. I mean, I just
You're splitting hairs with us, Steve.
Pardon me?
You're splitting hairs with us, Steve. Come on.
I know, but I just was reviewing it, and I was making some notes. And Ron, I'm sorry I didn't email you on that earlier. I think it was just a typo. So anyway, with that, I concur with the staff report and the conditions of approval, and if it pleases the commission to make an amendment to condition number 11.
I think Gail has something to say, and then Robert has a question.
Okay, sure.
I believe our standard condition was that if it was hard alcohol, you can't sell in less than containers less than 2 ounces. So perhaps we don't need the condition, or Ron, do you have any?
The conditional alcohol should be sold in containers less than 2 ounces was one of the potential conditions that was included in the policy that was presented to the council and ultimately adopted. And it was also checked off by the police services as one of the conditions that they concur with.
Okay, but in this case, you would have no problem complying with the conditions, since no one even bottles teeny tiny wine bottles.
Right. I just had, when I read that, I made a note of it.
Yeah,
So we're good.
I'm sorry.
You go.
I should point out that the condition is no alcohol, as opposed to making a distinction between wine or hard alcohol.
Right. Thank you. All right, so now I believe Robert has a question.
Yes, this question is no reflection on your item today. I was just curious, what's the status of the other 2 approvals we made in the city for 99 Cent Only?
I don't believe that they've begun selling at the other locations as of yet.
Do you have any idea of what the schedule is? Or?
I don't know. I was kind of asking myself that question on the way here as to when they were doing it. They're working on kind of some new displays, types of that go on their shelvings, and so they may be just waiting to do that. So I'll certainly ask the question of them, but I'm not 100% sure why operationally they haven't begun selling the product yet.
Does anybody else have questions of Mr. Rollins? And thank you, Steve. Do we have any more speakers? Okay, so we're going to bring it back up here. Does anybody? Well, I would just like to say that I think staff did a fine job, and we seem to have complied with City Council's request that we meet certain conditions, or that, not we, 99 Cent Store, and because they're kind of a unique place of business, I believe that satisfies our goal, which is to. What were the particular ones that you cited again, Ron? That it's unique and that
findings.
The findings.
The one-stop nature of shopping that it affords customers, the uniqueness of the pricing in terms of other businesses that may be selling alcohol in the census tract.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that and speak to it. So does anybody else have any comments on this item? Does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation for the 99-cent store.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Okay, we're going to move right on to item 7.
Item 7 is a site development permit to establish the required number of off-street parking spaces for Miracle Recovery Center, and Amanda Loffer has a report this evening on this item.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a site development permit to establish the number of off-street parking spaces for Miracle Recovery Center, a permitted medical office use located within an existing 2,500 square foot office space located within the El Muirlands office building at 2331 El Toro Road, Suite 102. Miracle Recovery Center provides group therapy and individual counseling for adults with substance abuse issues. The proposed tenant suite is currently divided into multiple offices that will be used for counseling sessions and business activities. Based on the definitions in the Lake Forest Municipal Code, the proposed business would be classified as a medical office and would be permitted in the professional and administrative zoning district. However, because the proposed establishment cannot meet the parking requirement for a general medical office of 1 parking space for every 150 square feet, a parking study was submitted to determine a specific parking requirement based on the unique operational characteristics of the business. As described in the staff report and parking study, there are 7 to 9 employees that will be working at this location at any given time. Employees will provide transportation to and from the facility for patrons in 2 company vehicles. The El Muirlands office building was originally parked for 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of leasable floor area. Based on the square footage of the proposed tenant suite for Miracle Recovery Center, 10 spaces would be allotted to this suite. As described in the parking study and based on the unique operational characteristics of the business, a maximum of 10 parking spaces would be required for the facility. The 10 parking spaces required for this use include 7 spaces for clerical employees and counselors, 2 spaces for the employees that drive the company vehicles, and 1 space for the potential of a pre-approved patron who has been in counseling for a long period of time that would drive their personal vehicle to the facility. An additional condition of approval has been added to ensure that the number of vehicles associated with this facility does not exceed 10 spaces that are allotted to the tenant suite. The proposed use is consistent with the allowable uses in the zoning code and is compatible with the surrounding office uses. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the site development permit. The applicant is in the audience, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Any questions of staff? Okay, any speakers? Aaron Goldberg.
My name is Aaron Goldberg. I'm one of the owners of Miracle Recovery Center. I just kind of wanted to touch on...
And your city of residence, Mr.
Irvine,
Goldberg?
California.
Thank you.
It was previously Lake Forest. So what got me into the recovery industry was I'm in recovery myself. I came out here to Hope by the Sea from Oklahoma. I had a bad drug and alcohol problem for about 18 years. My mother helped me get into treatment, and my mother was struggling with cancer, and she never gave up fighting cancer. She would literally go to chemo, and then a day later go on a cancer walk fundraiser. She did it several times. I did it with her. She had always told me that someday she thought that I would help other people into recovery, and that's what inspired me to do what I'm doing. I also partnered up with Jeff Conroy, and Dr. William Gordon, who is a clinical psychologist. The other thing I wanted to touch on is that there's 174 available parking spots, and whenever we had our parking study done by Kunzman and Associates, the most that was ever used was 69%. And we're not going to change anything that we do before. We've been in business since October 17th, 2016. And we're not going to change anything we're doing. The main reason that we want this is so that we can up our level of certifications that we have. We're also currently waiting on Joint Commission, which is it's a higher level of care. I know there was an article recently that came out in the Orange County Registry that talked about a lot of treatment centers and the downside of it. We are an outpatient treatment center, and we do not have sober livings. So we literally almost perfectly fit in that article of what they would say to ask of what a treatment center had, because all of our staff is at least a MFT, LMFT, or a doctor of psychology. We have 2 doctors of psychology, 1 PhD. I get a little fuzzy on which ones are LMFTs and MFTs, but Dr. Gordon's going to speak and he can tell you that. So we do want to offer the highest level of care. And one thing that wasn't added in there that probably should have been is we don't also only treat substance abuse. We also treat mental health disorders such as like bipolar, depression, a lot of things that a lot of people do also have issues with, that whenever you get them in group together, someone with an addiction, someone with like severe depression, it's amazing how they can relate on the issues, the way they felt, the things they went through in the past. So that's about all I have.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, just some curiosity on the situation. Your clients, are there any that are court-ordered to attend, or as part of their probation or stuff, or is this, how does one become a client, I guess, or patient or whatever?
We do have some court-ordered clients. They aren't the higher percentage, because that's one of the other things. We aren't a probation-approved program. However, that's a choice for the court, whether or not they will allow somebody that has, a probation or I don't think we have anybody on parole. Pretty sure we don't have anybody on parole. There's a couple people that are on probation. So it's not. That's something that's really up to the court whether they'll allow it or not. As far as most of our clients, we get through Yelp. We have some online SEO, pay-per-click marketing. That's where most of our clients generally come from.
So generally, this would be, for lack of a better, self-committed. They're ones that maybe their families have they've done an intervention or whatever it is, and they've decided that it's time to I've hit rock bottom. I'm done, and they do it on their own type thing.
And they generally go to an inpatient level of care, and then after the inpatient level of care, because a lot of people come out here for 30 days, and they're going to go back home. We also have a lot of people from the California area. They may not be from Orange County. So they'll go for a 30-day program, like an inpatient level of care, and then they'll start getting their wits about them and say, wait a minute, I actually want to stay sober, and this is going to take more than that. Because I planned on staying in treatment for 30 days. I bought a return flight back to Oklahoma, and I'm still out here. So it doesn't always work out how you think it's going to.
Now, I know it probably depends on each person's different, but typically how long is I guess in your case, or it's an outpatient type situation. Typically, and I know maybe it's all different, but typically how long would somebody be?
We'd like 4 months.
Okay.
Because the longer that you can keep somebody sober, the higher chance that they have of staying sober long term.
And after a month, if they decide I'm done, they can just walk away. There's not any kind of contract that they have to sign, whatever. Okay. And then the other question I had, you said there was parking or whatever, the 7 employees. Typically, how many employees would you have working at a time? I mean, is it always 7, or would it typically be less than that, or is it?
It really depends on the day of the week, I would say, and the reason we come up with 7 is because that's generally the average.
Okay.
It can be as high as 9, like Mondays and Wednesdays seem to be the day that, especially in the morning, we have more people in there because we also do one-on-ones while we're doing group. So during that time, there will be more.
Okay, and then the other question too is, now they'll be driven there in a van or wherever, and then taken back. Would someone come there in the morning and be there all day, or they have a morning session, an afternoon session, or how does that
We have a
work?
morning session, an afternoon session. We have 9:30 to 12:30, and we have 4 to 7.
So if somebody comes in the van in the morning, typically they'll stay till 7 at night?
No. Now, they just go from, sorry, I probably, when I answered that, no, when somebody comes in the morning, they typically just go from 9:30 to 12:30.
Okay, so you have two
Right.
shifts, so to speak. Or
Right.
two,
In
okay.
between there, most of the other clinical staff stays because they have to catch up on notes. And
Got it. I'm just talking about the patient. So you have the either morning session or the afternoon section if you're a patient. Okay, great. Thank you.
I just want to focus on, let's say you've got your 9 folks that are working there, and you got the 2 vans. Are the vans normally assigned to one of the 9 individuals, or 7 or 9 individuals, and they are taking it home and bringing it back? Or so
correct.
they are actually, that van is in transition at all time. It's not necessarily there.
Right, correct.
Okay, it's only there during the time that your clients are there. They go back, and at the end of the day, it's taken with your employee back to his
That's correct.
domicile.
Every now and then, if we need to do some maintenance, we'll leave it there overnight and have.
Okay, it was, yeah, because we're looking at, the need for one more spot, everything as I see it, other than somebody else has got authorization to drive to and from. That throws a little monkey in it, but, all right, that answered my question. When you're picking up folks, are they typically from Lake Forest only, or are they surrounding areas? What's your area that you're
San
servicing?
Juan and Irvine. We actually don't have any, and haven't had any pickups in Lake Forest. San Juan, Irvine, and Mission Viejo sometimes.
That's surprising. That's very surprising. I would have thought we would at least had 1 or 2 in Lake Forest.
There are silver livings in Lake Forest, but we don't.
You're okay. This is a totally different type of a concept. Are they normally residing still with their family as they're going through this program, or are they on their own living?
Generally, they're on their own living.
Okay.
Like they have their own sober living that they found. We have some. We primarily recommend one in San Juan. It's not our sober living though.
Okay. Very good.
It's just at a better price point for most of them because most of them don't have a whole lot of funds.
Well, that's an interesting. So this is a paid service that's not necessarily being compensated by the county or the state. It could be, but this is where individuals have committed themselves and they are on the hook for what they're doing.
That's correct.
So they got skin in the game.
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent.
I have a question. I think earlier this year we approved a similar use, and I know the question was answered and I forgot. Why is it that your clients don't drive themselves to sessions?
Most of them flew out here and are going to fly back after they're done with treatment, so they don't have cars.
Okay. Interstate? Interesting. Second is, what is the length of your lease?
2 years.
2 years. And then I have a question for staff. With this approval, this permit then goes with the property, the suite?
Yes, it would go with the suite.
All right. So this is good indefinitely?
For the specific suite of 102 with 2,500 square feet, if another similar use, such as Miracle Recovery, wanted to move in and operate under the same operational characteristics, because this site development permit is for establishing the required number of parking spaces, they would have to operate under the same characteristics that were present in the parking study.
Okay. So then if a another tenant was to occupy that space, then the basic rules still apply for them for their parking requirements.
Like if an office use, yeah, the office parking requirement is one parking space for every 250 square feet, and that would equal 10 parking spaces. So an office use would be permitted there, and the amount of parking that's provided on site for this suite would be able to support an office use.
All right, thank you.
What policy or provision do you have in your operation that guarantees you'll never use more than the 10 parking places? Say some tenant, one of your patients decides to drive in, and I mean, you basically say you don't allow that, but how do you control that? You never use more than the 10 spaces.
We don't take on clients that have cars generally, unless it's approved by the clinical staff.
So you require them to use the van, they can't just show up.
Exactly. And one reason that is because that also gives them more reason to finish out the session, because a lot of times during a intense therapy session or something, somebody will get upset and they'll want to leave. And if they have to walk, 10 miles, it's a lot more of a reason to calm down for a minute. Because sometimes all it does is take them just being there for another minute and talking to somebody and like, yeah, okay, I'm upset over something I can calm down about. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We may call you back. You never know.
Okay.
Peggy probably has more speakers for us. Jeffrey Conroy?
My name is Jeff Conroy, from Irvine, California. Essentially what got me into this field is, I'm 27 years old. I've had a drug problem since I was about, I'd say maybe 13 years old. My mother passed away when I was 9, and I just had very little supervision. I'm originally from Maryland. I had done the rehab thing about 12 times. And eventually from the psych ward in Maryland, I ended up in California, where, I didn't get it on my first try, but eventually I was able to achieve some type of long-term sobriety. The reason that I'm so passionate about this whole industry and everything that, all the possibilities that we can do with it is just the fact that, it's dramatically helped my life. I was probably one of those cases that, the statistics are, it's like, I think the statistics are only 10% of people achieve long-term sobriety, which is, long-term sobriety is supposed to be 5+ years. And I'm not there yet. I have 4 years away from all substances, but kind of lost my train of thought, sorry.
You're doing great.
I don't know. I just know me, and I can speak for everybody else that I'm with.
So do you work now with what do you do with Miracle Recovery?
I'm co-owner. I own 1/3 of it, and I started off as a counselor. It actually took me I went to Saddleback Community College, and it actually took me about 2 years because I had a couple relapses in between, but it took me about 2 years to get a KDAC, which is like your registered counselor. And it's just a little certificate, and then from there I just kind of kept on growing with it. I just didn't stand still.
Well, congratulations. Does anybody have any questions? And your first name, I'm sorry, is?
It's Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Yep.
Jeffrey? Jeffrey, thank you very much.
William Gordon?
Hi, good evening. My name is William Gordon. I'm the clinical director at Miracle Recovery.
And you reside in?
And I reside in Dana Point.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to share a little bit about the clinical content of our program. At Miracle, we believe that the opposite of addiction is connection. And a lot of the clients that come to our treatment center are clients who feel disconnected from themselves, they feel disconnected from other people, and they feel disconnected from their higher powers. At Miracle, we help them to become connected to themselves by helping them to identify what their signature strengths are and helping them to use those signature strengths in their everyday functioning, essentially. We help them to connect to others because the strengths we focus on are strengths that improve interpersonal effectiveness, essentially. And we also focus on helping them get connected to their higher power because we find that research shows that when you're not connected to your higher power or other people, there's a void there that we tend to fill with drugs and alcohol and things of that nature. So one of the things that makes our program unique is that we just don't focus on the illness itself. We focus on the strengths, and then we try to help our clients understand what are the things that are getting in the way of them living to their fullest potential. Like, what are the barnacles on the side of the boat that's creating drag, essentially. And by focusing on the strength and then looking at what's holding them back, we're still able to address the pathology, and we're still able to address the addiction and things of that nature. But we help our clients to flourish and move forward and become their best selves. And I firmly believe that Miracle Recovery has a unique approach to recovery that adds something of substance to the feel and what's needed out there in the recovery industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alex Mohammed?
I think we might
I
have
want
one
to
question.
ask you a question or something. Just
Alex, you can just sit down.
One of the things I volunteer with is kids that have been abused and neglected that are in foster care, and it's a camp every year that they go to and they come, and we find that after they age out and stuff, some of them come back as counselors. And we find that those are the best counselors, that say, hey, you don't know what I'm going through. Oh, I don't? Well, let me tell you.
Right.
And for you guys, that's great because, like I said, having gone through that gives you a little bit of an edge on the, people that, think you don't know what they're going through. Oh, yeah, well, let me tell you my story. Anyway, the question I have, too, you're just involved in the addiction recovery, and I know, and making them well. Do you have any type of connections with maybe job placements or those kind of things, or are you guys just concerned with the recovery aspect?
We're primarily concerned with the recovery aspect, but once we admit a client into our program, we have to start thinking about what the discharge is going to look like. So we have to work towards certain goals. And in terms of, we've been working with the wellness, I'm blanking on the name right now, I apologize. It's right up the street here on Lake Forest. It's a job placement site that helps clients, and we would do things like help our clients write resumes and things of that nature, and that varies from client to client. But the case management part of our services still needs to be developed a little bit more. We're primarily master's level and doctoral level clinicians, so we focus on the addiction and the mental health primarily.
Thanks. Good.
Any other questions?
You never know. Have a seat.
Alex Mohammed.
Good evening. My name's Alex Mohammed. I reside in Anaheim Hills. I love these guys. I work with these guys. I'm a local business owner in Lake Forest, but I also own a toxicology laboratory that works with them. And one of the things that I love about them is you guys seen, they're real people, and they do really, really good work. It's not about the money. I know because I scholarship a lot of their clients, and we work together very well because they're realistic with what to expect. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share, I got into the business is my 16-year-old, 17 now, had a drug problem. And for the first time, I didn't know what to do. All I felt was anger and betrayal, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And if it wasn't for facilities like these guys and them accepting him for his faults, and teaching me to accept and how to deal with it, I don't know what I would do. So I'm here to support them. I know they're a good company. I think one of the questions that I want to get very, very clear is they are the last line of recovery. So there's phases that you go through. The detox. Detox gets a little dangerous. They're still very, very involved with the alcohol. After that, there's a what's called RTC, residential treatment. And then after that is when they're now sober and they're trying to work on staying sober. And so when they come to these facilities, they're actually looking for guidance and they're looking for a way to re-enter the society and community and how to be normal and how to stay away from drugs, obviously. One of the reasons probably why we don't allow them to drive there is they're still in sober living. They just finished RTC. There still has to be a trust issue that we have to deal with, and they have to prove to us that they can stay off drugs. One of the problems with them driving themselves to the facility is that they could make a stop. And at the detox level, we don't leave them alone. RTC level, we don't leave them alone. At the sober living level, we don't want to leave them alone. We definitely want them to stay with somebody so that there's always accountability. So, and as far as the parking goes, we're talking the at full capacity, they probably will use 9 parking stalls. But I've been in that parking lot, and it is completely empty all the time. So, we will definitely honor our parking spaces and be good neighbors and deal with any changes if that becomes an issue.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, I don't know if it's you or maybe you guys could answer this too. I know a lot of times at the group home situations they have a drug testing element to it, and I've been involved with the Village of Hope there with some of those people, and there's a drug testing element there, and if you're you fail it, you're out. Do you guys have a drug testing element, or is that relied on as the group home center? How does that work? That's what when you said that, I figured as much. So is it random, or do they have to submit, or how does that work?
Well, it's scheduled. We have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday that they know they're going to get drug tested, and it's weird. Different drugs have different half-lives, and so sometimes the drug addicts get a little bit creative, and they know that they have a 24-hour window, so certain drugs will get out of your system faster. So if these guys recognize that there's someone who maybe looks like they could be high right now, they'll drug test them right now, and we'll send a courier to pick it up, and we'll drug test them. So it is random as well.
We're just doing urine, not blood at this point.
We do urine and blood, but we don't do blood for the drug testing.
Right.
So the cool thing about working with Dr. Gordon is not only do they care about getting them recovered, but they also care about getting them healthy.
Sure.
And so we do a complete wellness panel on them, make sure that they're if they have diabetes, that we're dealing with it while they're in care.
Yeah, and if they know that they may get drug tested any time, that's sometimes a deterrent too. So great, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, no more speakers, right? All right. Bring it up here. Any motion?
I just think you guys are doing a great thing. I really do. And I see absolutely no problem with the parking situation. Just the way they're, operating themselves, I think they're going to be within it's stipulated within the building thing, but if they don't, it's not going to have any adverse impact on it. And the service that they're providing, I love the way they're conducting it, and I'm totally in favor of this. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, and thank you for your very thorough report. We appreciate your dedication and the education. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Planet Fitness.
This is our last agenda item, number 8, a use permit to establish Planet Fitness Health Club with late night hours. And Amanda also has a staff for this item.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is a use permit to establish Planet Fitness, a health club with late-night hours, located at 26682 Portola Parkway. I would just like to note that this item was previously noticed to include a use permit for massage services. However, upon further review, the city attorney has determined that the Lake Forest massage ordinance was not intended to cover the type of self-operating, pre-programmed massage beds and chairs that Planet Fitness is proposing. Planet Fitness is a health club that provides a variety of services to clients, including fitness equipment, tanning rooms, and hydro massage rooms. A health club is a permitted use in the commercial zoning district. However, the municipal code states that any business that operates between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. is considered a late night use and requires the approval of a use permit. Planet Fitness proposes to operate 24 hours a day. Planet Fitness proposes a variety of security measures specifically related to the late night hours, including site lighting, security camera coverage, specifically facing the front parking lot area, and special training for employees that work during the late night hours. The Police Services Division reviewed the proposal and did not have any concerns with the late night hours. However, a condition of approval has been included in the resolution that would provide the city with a mechanism to require additional security measures or revoke the use permit if safety issues or criminal activity directly related to the late night hours ever occurred. Overall, the proposed use is consistent with the allowable uses in the zoning code and is compatible with the surrounding commercial shopping center uses. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the use permit. The applicant is in the audience, and I would be happy to answer any questions as well. Thank you.
Just to confirm, and this is the concern I had, which I think has been answered, we don't have massage therapists that are there. These are basically machines that, you put a quarter, whatever it is, and it's massage, it's self-massage, like a massage chair, and there's not going to be massage therapists or anything like that, correct?
Correct. On 250 of the packet, I included, those are the standard beds and chairs that they would have in
okay, I just wanted to
black card area. Yes.
That one table looked like it could be a massage.
Yeah, no, there's no massage there.
Good, okay, great.
It's that roller thing, I think. That
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions of Miss Amanda?
I got one.
Okay.
The security at the center, is that 24-hour security provided at the center in addition to what would be provided here? I'm just curious.
Like a patrol?
Yes. I mean, the security that's in the center itself, is it considered to be a 24-hour security?
I'm not sure if the Foothill Retail Center has, or the Foothill Town Center, I'm not sure if they offer that
was just
service.
A curiosity question.
Yeah. I don't believe that Planet Fitness is proposing to have any sort of 24-hour security guard, though.
That's why I was just curious as to whether the center itself did.
I do not know about that.
Okay.
No more questions of Amanda? Do we have speakers?
Michael Luna.
Your name and city of residence, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission, and city staff. My name is Michael Luna. I'm an architect and resident of San Clemente. Thank you very much for hearing our item tonight. We have thoroughly reviewed the conditions of approval. We find no problem with those. Our application and our use, I think, is pretty straightforward. The only, I think, unusual thing is indeed the 24-hour service that the Planet Fitness provides. There is really pretty limited traffic during the late hours. Usually there's no more than about between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. No more at, typically we don't see more than about 10 or 15 visitors in our premises during those hours. Thank you to staff for the great handling of our application as well. And of course I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, it seems curious, that we've only got 10 individuals that would be out. It's, I guess I'm just...
When was the last time you went and exercised at 3 a.m.?
There has never, well, I can't say that. That was probably in 1966 through 70. It was any
It's not
time
done
they
anymore.
wanted to-
It's not done anymore, yeah.
No, it doesn't.
You're aging yourself, Dave Carter.
No.
It's usually no more than about 15.
I'm surprised with the change that we've got in folks that are out all the time anymore. It would seem as though you would probably have a larger clientele base, and maybe you will once they find that there's something like that available to them, because the shifts that people are working today are just unbelievable.
Indeed.
It's more of a curiosity type. What's the closest residence to this? There's none in that area at all, is there?
I believe I put that in my staff report. It's across Portola. I believe it's like 800 feet across Portola.
My guess too is that when I was working, I'd get off of work at 2 in the morning, and sometimes you go to the gym, and that's like to your question. Also, I imagine they have minimal staff on at that time, but that was the time they could use for cleaning and maintenance and that type of stuff. I would think as well. So it would.
Indeed, yes. During those hours, typically there's no less than 2 employees on site, and oftentimes there's as many as 3 during those early morning hours.
What type of extra security measures will you use at night to protect your patrons?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
What type of additional security measures will you use at night to protect your patrons during that time period?
Well, I think they're trained to keep a very good eye on the premises. They typically have remote communication devices. If someone's got to go into, say, a back room or something like that, they might have a little walkie-talkie or something, so they keep in communication with the other employees. But typically they do rely on just good judgment in terms of keeping an eye on things, and they rely a lot on the cameras. I think cameras are a good deterrent. They're everywhere. I think there's something like 25 or 30 of them throughout the premises, both indoor and outdoor.
So do you have any way to lock the front entrance or anything so people you can regulate who actually comes in and out, or do you have any way to?
Sure. I mean, I think there's standard locks. It doesn't have a remote locking system typically on the front entrance door. But I think that there is a reception desk right near the main entrance, and that's very carefully monitored and controlled.
So that's occupied 24/7?
Oh, absolutely, yes, the front desk.
Okay. And have you added extra lighting at the front or anything to make sure that it's well lit and doesn't attract people that are loitering or anything like that?
Lighting throughout the facility is pretty intense. I mean, it is a very good spread of light throughout the facility. There's really no dark areas in the facility. It has a very carefully designed lighting system for good lighting throughout. And one of the things we do like about the center is very well lit, both immediately adjacent exterior of the front door to the exterior of the front door, and the center itself appears to have very, very good lighting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you
right,
very
thank you.
much. Are there any more speakers? You sure? Heiko? Come on. Okay, so we'll bring it back up here. Any comments?
I don't see any reason not to approve it, so I would close the public hearing and support staff's recommendation, make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it with an observation. It's not every day that we can take 24,000 square feet off the market.
Off the for lease list? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded and voted on. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Congratulations, motion carried unanimously. Good evening. Okay, so we are going to look at, Michael finally is talking back there. City director's comments, I guess.
I have no comments this evening.
All right, city attorney.
I also have no comments this evening.
Planning commission, I have no comments. No comment.
I want to compliment staff tonight. I think everything that came forward was exceptionally presented. There were very few questions that went unanswered, the majority of them. I think some of the things that I brought out of the past, and you guys were actually able to bring it right up without any hesitation, is phenomenal.
And Amanda, I mean, she was,
Well, everybody was on there.
Go, Amanda. Hi, Mom. Hi,
These
Dad.
were potentially some contentious type things, so everything that needed to be asked was asked, and I thought it went very well. Just to note, those of you who are of our mind, next week is the deal for the Boys and Girls Club, a night under the stars. I believe everybody got an invitation. If you can make it, we'd love to see you there. And with that, have a great weekend, and a safe one, too.
Right.
No comment.
Again, staff, thank you. A lot of work, makes our job easy. I want to take advantage of you being here, and I just want to comment based on last night. What is our actual liaisons with the school district? That seemed a little disjointed last night, and I was just curious how the city interacts with the school district.
Maybe Gail can answer that one.
On staff level, the school district has their own staff. They have a school district board. They prepare meetings and agendas. We get copies of some of their reports. When they went to level 2 fees, we had the reports. We reviewed them and made sure we work with them to make sure that we feed in numbers for residential units and the things that we're approving. Through the environmental process, we also contact the school district and ask for input on, potential projects that we have. Through the opportunity study, we required that the developers in the OSA area have mitigation agreements with the school district, but it's up to the district to do those negotiations. So we don't interfere in their business, but we provide each other with input.
All right. I think we can adjourn to our June 9th meeting. Boom.